Have you ever noticed that the very moment you finally surrender, like you just stop checking your messages and genuinely stop caring about hearing back from that job interview, the phone instantly rings.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Right. And we usually just brush it off as this cosmic joke, like some cynical sense of irony woven into the fabric of the universe.
Yeah, we think the universe just has a really dark sense of humor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if it isn't a joke at all? What if your sheer desperation was actually the exact mechanical force keeping that phone silent?
That's the core of it, really. That desperation is an active force.
Because, I mean, just picture the architecture of your own ambitions for a second.
Yeah.
You have this goal,
Hmm.
right? And you are just clinging to it with this white-knuckled intensity.
Which is what we're all taught to do, honestly.
Right. It's the reigning thought when you wake up, and it's that lingering anxiety right before you go to sleep. You put in the effort, you hustle until you feel like you're literally grinding your vital energy into ash.
And you're following every single rule of modern productivity to the letter.
Totally. Yet it feels like the harder you lean into the struggle, the further the horizon just retreats from you.
Yeah, you find yourself trapped in this endless tide of effort, and all you get is a mere fragment of a reward.
It's maddening. You look around and wonder, why does caring deeply about a vision seem to invite this massive onslaught of resistance?
It feels incredibly personal, doesn't it? Like the environment is actively pesting you.
Yes, like it's daring you to prove your worth by just, enduring more pain. So our natural reflex is to tighten the grip even more.
We think we just must not be trying hard enough.
Exactly. We tell ourselves, I just need to push through this barrier.
But here's the thing, that instinct to push through, that is the precise moment the trap snaps shut on you.
Wait, really? The pushing is the trap.
Absolutely. Because the exhaustion you're describing, it's not a symptom of insufficient labor. It stems from a profound miscalculation regarding how reality actually takes shape.
Okay, that's huge. What do you mean by that?
Well, we operate under this culturally inherited assumption that brute force inherently yields desired results. Like, effort equals outcome.
Which is the foundation of basically everything we're taught.
Right. But the very act of frantic desire, treating an outcome as a fundamental matter of life or death, it generates this massive field of energetic resistance.
So the desperation itself is the engine pushing the goal away.
Exactly. The desperation pushes the objective completely out of reach.
Hold on, we need to completely deconstruct this. Because this idea runs counter to the entire cultural mythology of the grind.
It really does. It flips the whole paradigm upside down.
Because we're taught from infancy that extreme emotional investment is the absolute prerequisite for success. If you don't bleed for it, you don't deserve it.
And that is exactly what we are challenging in this exploration. We are looking at a radical philosophical departure from that mythology.
So we're mapping out the unseen mechanics of human intention today.
Yes. We want to figure out how to neutralize those invisible hooks that are just draining our vitality.
I love that. We're going to align the opposing forces of our own minds and really step into a current of materialization where outcomes aren't chased into submission, right? They're simply chosen.
Precisely. It's a transition. We are migrating from this animal state of frantic survival into a state of deliberate, sovereign creation.
So if brute force is the wrong tool, what is the right one? I mean, how do we cross that terrifying expanse between where we are sitting right now and the boundless potential we know we're capable of?
Well, to do that, we have to fundamentally redefine the environment we occupy.
Okay, redefine it how?
We have to separate the culturally saturated, really passive notion of like wishing for a better life from the active structural principle of materialization.
Oh, I want to push back on that popular concept of wishing immediately.
Please do. It's a massive problem.
Because the cultural conversation around getting what you want has devolved into something resembling, I don't know, just magical thinking.
Oh, absolutely. We treat reality like a cosmic vending machine.
Yes. We sit on the porch, we close our eyes, we think these really positive thoughts, and we just expect a magical delivery to drop from the sky simply because we feel entitled to it.
And that passive anticipation is rooted in a total ignorance of the underlying structure of existence.
Okay, break that down for me. What's the actual structure?
So, reality does not unfold on a singular, rigid, predetermined track. It just doesn't.
It's not a straight line.
Right. It exists as this infinite space of variations. Picture a boundless, multidimensional constellation that contains the blueprint of every scenario that ever was or ever will be.
Every possible scenario.
Every single one. Every conceivable choice an individual could make, and the resulting cascading reality of that choice, it already exists in a dormant, unmanifested architecture.
Trying to visualize a boundless constellation of every possible life I could lead is, it's almost paralyzing, honestly.
That's a lot to wrap your head around, yeah.
You're saying every version of our existence is just suspended out there in this latent state,
They are suspended, yes, and we are perpetually drawing them into physical form.
whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. Through our internal focus and our subsequent actions, we literally pull these variations from the unmanifested void into tangible existence.
Wow. So life isn't happening to us, we're selecting it.
The trajectory of a human life is simply the compounding sum of an individual continuously pulling specific dormant variations into their waking reality.
Okay, but if that's true, why are so many people unhappy with the reality they're pulling?
Because the tragedy is that the overwhelming majority of humanity performs this operation completely blindly.
Just totally unaware of the mechanics.
Right. They're driven by subconscious fear rather than conscious intent.
Let me bridge this back to that porch analogy from earlier.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If sitting on the porch, waiting for the magical delivery is the trap of passive wishing, then genuine materialization feels completely different to me.
How do you picture it?
I picture walking into this infinite, perfectly silent library. And the book containing the exact reality you desire is already written.
It's already there.
Right? It is resting on a specific shelf in a specific aisle. You do not have to fall on your knees and beg the librarian to write the manuscript for you.
Exactly. The work of creation is already done.
And you don't have to close your eyes and wish for the book to magically levitate into your hands either.
No, you have to participate.
You simply stand up, you navigate the aisles, you reach out, and you take it. It requires physical movement, it requires navigation, but, and I think this is the key, it requires absolutely zero emotional desperation.
Notice the most crucial element in your library scenario right there. The total absence of biological panic.
Yes, you're just getting a book.
When an individual walks toward that shelf, their heart rate is steady. They are not flooded with a tidal wave of adrenaline.
They just have this quiet internal knowing that the object is there, and they execute the physical mechanics required to retrieve it.
That's beautifully put. In the theater of materialization, the calmest participant inevitably claims the prize.
The calmest participant wins. I love that phrasing. But, when we look back across the scope of our lives, when has sheer white-knuckled panic ever actually facilitated the creation of something beautiful or lasting?
Never. The biological stress response, the Sutter flooding of cortisol, that primal fight-or-flight mechanism, it was engineered through the passage of eras to facilitate escaping physical predators.
Right, running from a tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was never designed to architect complex human dreams.
So when we get stressed about a goal, we're basically reacting like we're being hunted.
Literally. When that system activates, it violently shuts down the higher executive functions of the brain. It narrows your peripheral vision.
It locks you into the immediate threat.
It locks the organism's energy entirely into the immediate present, prioritizing physical survival above all else.
Which means you can't plan for a beautiful future.
Right. If you approach a lifelong ambition from a state of intense, agonizing worry, you are biologically signaling to your nervous system that you are under mortal threat.
And a nervous system convinced it is being hunted cannot calmly reach into the space of variations and select a vibrant, thriving future.
It's impossible. It is entirely consumed with surviving the current minute.
It has no bandwidth to choose a new reality. It is just trying not to be destroyed by the present one.
Which introduces a really fascinating foundational mechanism governing our world.
What's that?
The universal mandate for equilibrium and the human illusion of importance.
Okay, importance. Because everything in our conditioning screams that to achieve a monumental goal, we absolutely must elevate it above everything else.
We're told it has to be the most important thing in the world.
Right. We must make it the absolute center of our universe. We are told to eat, sleep, and breathe the ambition.
And assigning that level of crushing importance is the exact mechanism that repels the objective.
It pushes it away.
It actively pushes it away. When a goal is placed on an impossibly high pedestal, it is elevated completely out of your natural reach.
Why does the universe react that way, though?
Because the universe functions on strict principles of balance. It fundamentally abhors disproportionate energetic spikes.
So caring too much is an energetic spike.
A massive one. When an individual generates a massive, agonizing concentration of importance around one specific outcome, they create a severe energetic pressure vacuum in their environment.
Wow. And vacuums demand to be filled. They demand correction.
The surrounding environment simply cannot tolerate the imbalance. The natural forces of equilibrium will rush in to correct that disproportionate pressure.
How do those forces correct it? What does that look like in real life?
Well, the most efficient way the universe restores balance is by introducing sudden setbacks, cascading obstacles, or even catastrophic failures.
Just to knock the goal down a peg.
Exactly. These events are designed specifically to knock that idolized goal off its pedestal and shatter the illusion of its supreme importance.
That is, wow. Let me try to map this visually for everyone listening.
Go for it.
Imagine a person's natural upward progression through life as a hot air balloon.
Okay, I see it.
The balloon is inherently designed to rise, right? The heat swelling inside the canopy is their natural talent, their authentic essence.
It naturally wants to go up.
But hanging off the wicker basket are these massive, incredibly dense sandbags. And these sandbags represent the artificial importance we attach to our desires.
The anxiety, the sleepless nights.
Exactly. That inner monologue constantly whispering, if I fail at this, my existence is meaningless.
The individual creates their own gravity.
Yes. So we are standing in the basket, completely frustrated, because we are just hovering inches above the dirt.
And what's the default human reaction to that frustration?
We yank furiously on the burner. We try to ignite this massive roaring fire.
We just grind harder.
Right. We sacrifice sleep. We push our physical limits trying to force the balloon into the sky through sheer exertion.
But that's not how you gain altitude.
No. To rise, we don't need a more violent fire. We just need to lean over the edge and cut the ropes holding the sandbags.
It's that simple. Reducing the importance lightens the systemic load, which allows the upward trajectory to resume almost effortlessly.
But I mean, the paradox here is obvious, right?
Yeah, instructing a human being to simply stop caring about their deepest, most vulnerable aspirations is practically futile.
It feels like an impossible psychological trick. Like, I desperately want this outcome, therefore I must successfully lie to myself and pretend I am entirely indifferent to it.
Which just creates a secondary layer of internal resistance.
Exactly. If I'm terrified about going bankrupt, how do I actually drop the sandbag of financial anxiety? I can't just pretend I don't care about money.
You can't, and that's why the solution bypasses logic entirely.
How so?
Rather than attempting to force a state of cold, robotic detachment, which never works, you take the terrifying importance and you amplify it.
Wait, amplify it.
You stretch it until it becomes utterly absurd.
But if my nervous system is already redlining because of the pressure, amplifying the stakes sounds like a recipe for a total breakdown.
If you did it logically, yes.
Wouldn't my brain recognize I'm just playing a dangerous game with my own fears?
Ah, but you are not amplifying it realistically. You are stretching it into the realm of comedic farce.
Comedic farce. Okay, give me an example.
When the pressure of a specific outcome feels crushing, you exaggerate the consequences until they break the fundamental laws of reality.
So go completely over the top.
Way over the top. You tell yourself, if I lose this client tomorrow, not only will I face financial ruin, but the oceans will immediately evaporate.
Oh, I see.
The Earth's crust will shatter, and the entire galaxy will fold in on itself in profound sorrow.
You deliberately turn the terror into a caricature.
Exactly. You force a cognitive short circuit. Comedy and absurdity are the ultimate release valves for built-up psychological tension.
Because you can't be terrified of something that's genuinely ridiculous.
Right. By ballooning the pressure into a cosmic joke, the rigid, terrified internal monologue simply snaps.
The brain can't compute the threat anymore.
The amygdala, the fear center of the brain, suddenly encounters information that is too ridiculous to process as a genuine threat.
It realizes it has been tricked.
And the physical constriction in the body involuntarily loosens. You exhale, you laugh at the sheer stupidity of the exaggerated scenario.
And in that fleeting moment of levity, the sandbag detaches.
The balloon rises.
That reframing is incredibly powerful because it doesn't require suppressing the fear, which, like you said, never works anyway.
Suppression just compresses the energy.
Right. This mocks the fear until the fear is completely stripped of its authority.
It's a brilliant tactical maneuver.
But, it feels like we aren't just fighting our own internal sandbags here.
Oh, definitely not. There is a relentless external pressure as well.
It feels as though the surrounding culture is constantly throwing these invisible hooks at us, desperate to drag our attention toward conflicts that just drain us.
You are identifying the architecture of collective thought structures right now.
Collective thought structures. Okay, walk us through the anatomy of these structures.
They are the primary thieves of human awareness.
Because anyone listening right now knows the visceral sensation of opening a newsfeed or stepping into a toxic workplace
Yeah.
and feeling their vitality instantly hijacked.
We are examining invisible, collective, energetic entities.
Entities. Like they're alive.
In a sense, yes. In the passage of human history, whenever a concept, an ideology, or a conflict gathers a critical mass of human attention, a structure is formed.
And once it's formed, what does it do?
Once materialized, these structures behave almost autonomously. They function as parasitic energy harvesters.
Parasitic. So they feed on us.
Their continued survival depends entirely on provoking continuous emotional reactions from individual minds.
They feed on the emotional resonance.
They require human attention for sustenance. And the most vital characteristic of these structures is that they do not distinguish between positive and negative resonance.
Wait, really? They don't care if you're for or against them.
They do not care at all. They don't care if your attention takes the form of devoted, zealous obedience or furious, terrified opposition.
That is wild.
If a structure provokes a reaction, if it successfully makes you tremble with rage, swell with artificial pride, or shrink with guilt, it has successfully embedded its hook.
And it reels in your vital energy.
Exactly. You are feeding it either way.
It makes me think of a bright, artificial fishing lure dancing through dark water.
That's a perfect analogy.
It is designed with these flashy colors and erratic movements, meticulously engineered to trigger a primal, predatory instinct in the fish.
It bypasses logic and hits the instinct.
And the moment the fish bites, whether out of sheer aggression because it's mad at the lure or desperate hunger, the hook sets.
The intention of the fish doesn't matter once the hook is in.
But this presents a terrifying dilemma, doesn't it?
How so?
If every political dispute, every manufactured outrage, every sports rivalry, and every corporate drama operates as a parasitic lure, how are we supposed to actually inhabit society?
It seems like a trap everywhere you look.
Are we supposed to just sever all ties and wander through the world as numb, unfeeling observers, like robots?
No, not at all. The objective is not apathy or emotional numbness.
Well, that's a relief.
The objective is to become a sovereign, deliberate observer. You cease being the reactive fish striking at every flash of color.
And you become what?
You become the silent figure watching the currents of the water. The defense mechanism lies in mastering the art of the unexpected response.
The unexpected response. Okay, how does that energetic defense look in practice? Like, say a colleague is actively trying to pull you into a really bitter office dispute.
Well, you have to understand that these structures operate on highly predictable, rigid scripts.
They expect us to play our part.
Right. When an aggressive ideology confronts you, it expects a standardized script of furious defense or fearful submission.
And when a toxic environment attempts to ensnare you in gossip.
It requires your eager participation or your defensive anger to maintain its momentum. That's the friction it needs.
So how do you shatter the hook?
You simply refuse to recite the anticipated lines.
You break the script with an anomaly.
Exactly. You introduce radical absurdity or profound neutrality.
Give me an example of that.
If an instigator hurls an insult at you, engineered specifically to provoke rage, and you respond with a completely unrelated observation about the weather.
Like, wow, the clouds are really beautiful today.
Yes. Or you respond with a display of baffling, genuine joy. The hook simply cannot catch.
Because there's no friction.
The energetic structure requires friction to latch onto. When you present a smooth, unreactive, or utterly bizarre surface, the structure swings harmlessly past you.
And you retain the lion's share of your energy for your own materialization.
Exactly. You keep your power.
It is basically a form of psychological Aikido. You don't block the punch, you just aren't standing there when it lands.
That is exactly what it is.
And if we are talking about these thought structures, we absolutely have to look at the environment where they breed the fastest.
You mean the digital landscape?
The digital stream. It represents the apex evolution of the collective energy structure, doesn't it?
It really does. It is the most efficient harvesting mechanism humanity has ever devised.
It's an entire ecosystem mathematically optimized to siphon awareness.
The endless tide of scrolling. The algorithmic curation of outrage.
Notifications designed to just constantly fracture our focus. It's exhausting.
The architecture of the digital world is engineered to induce a waking slumber in the conscious mind.
A waking slumber. What happens to our brains when we're in that state?
Well, when an individual engages in passive, endless scrolling, their critical faculties actually recede.
They just shut down.
They enter a verifiable mild trance state. The brain's electrical activity shifts.
Oh, wow. So we're literally being hypnotized.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And in this prolonged state of passive consumption, the internal awareness muscle begins to rapidly atrophy.
We hollow ourselves out. We become these empty vessels waiting to be filled with whatever collective neuroses the algorithm decides is most profitable today.
And an atrophied awareness leaves the individual profoundly vulnerable.
Vulnerable to what?
You begin to adopt collective anxieties that have absolutely no bearing on your immediate physical reality.
Oh, like stressing out about something happening thousands of miles away that you can't control.
Exactly. You inherit foreign opinions. Your finite, precious reserve of daily energy is quietly bled into the digital void.
And what's the end result of all that bleeding?
The result is a population that is chronically exhausted, yet completely inactive, and entirely disconnected from their sovereign goals.
We can recognize the trap, we see it clearly, but the reality is we cannot simply hurl our devices into the sea and retreat to the wilderness.
As tempting as that sounds.
Right. But these tools are the infrastructure of modern survival. We need them to work, to communicate. How do we navigate the stream without being drowned by it?
The antidote is remarkably elegant, though it does demand rigorous internal discipline.
I have a feeling this is going to be hard.
It requires a hard transition. The individual must undergo a shift from the state of consumption to the state of creation.
Okay, creation. So the moment you open the device, you must impose your own will upon it, rather than waiting for it to tell you how to feel.
Exactly that. If you enter the digital expanse, you must arrive armed with a clear, sovereign intention.
So you don't just open the app to see what's there.
Never. When you utilize the landscape to broadcast an original thought, to build a network, to share an authentic creation, or to conduct commerce,
You instantly cease being a passive sponge.
right, you are asserting your unique, energetic signature upon the collective structure.
You transform from the harvested into the architect.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Let's contrast that. It's like walking into a chaotic, screaming town square just to mindlessly chant along with a furious mob,
Which drains you completely.
against walking into the exact same chaotic square, setting up a canvas, and painting the scene.
Both individuals are in the exact same environment.
But one is drained to the point of collapse, and the other is amplifying their own power.
This requires a brutal audit of our daily existence, honestly.
Yeah, we have to really look at how we're spending our time,
Individuals must look at the balance of their waking hours and ask a tough question.
which is,
Am I spending the overwhelming majority of my daylight functioning as a passive receptacle for collective hysteria?
Woof.
Or am I continuously broadcasting my own unrepeatable essence into the physical world?
it is a mirror that reflects a really uncomfortable truth for most of us.
It's confronting, yes.
But let's follow the thread of the creator for a second. Let's say someone actually does the work.
They commit to it.
Right. They drop the heavy sandbags of importance. They deflect the parasitic hooks. They start broadcasting their unique essence.
And the strategy actually works.
Exactly. The balloon begins to ascend. Success begins to materialize. What happens then?
Then we arrive at one of the most paradoxical and misunderstood mechanisms of human psychology.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The expansion of the internal thermostat and the self-sabotage barrier.
This is critical.
Yeah.
Because it explains that crazy phenomenon of people meticulously building their dreams only to detonate them the very moment they finally arrive.
It's a tragic cycle, but it's biological. Every human being operates with an internal emotional thermostat.
Okay, how does this thermostat work?
This mechanism governs our baseline reality. It strictly regulates the level of financial abundance, emotional intimacy, and professional success that the nervous system interprets as normal.
And where did this normal come from?
This baseline is typically coded in the distant past of our childhoods and reinforced through repetitive life experiences.
We usually call this the comfort zone, don't we? But that term feels misleading.
It is deeply misleading. The baseline is rarely comfortable. It is merely familiar.
Familiar, wow, huge distinction.
A person can possess a thermostat calibrated to chronic financial scarcity, toxic relationships, or relentless stress.
And their nervous system recognizes the specific frequency of that suffering.
It knows how to survive it. It's predictable.
So an individual decides to change their life. They do the internal work, they alter their trajectory, and suddenly they step into an unfamiliar, elevated reality.
They get the promotion, they find the healthy relationship.
Money flows easily. The relationship is peaceful. What actually happens inside the machinery of the mind when that occurs?
The nervous system initiates a catastrophic panic response.
Wait, panic, because things are going well.
Yes. When you cross the threshold of your established baseline and enter elevated altitudes of success, your primitive biology interprets the lack of familiar struggle as a sign of imminent danger.
Because the struggle is what it knows as survival.
Exactly. The ancient structures of the brain do not comprehend that the new environment is objectively better. To the survival mechanism, the unknown is synonymous with death.
It makes me think of a deep-sea diver who has spent years walking the ocean floor.
Oh, that's a brilliant visual.
The crushing pressure of the deep water is their baseline. It is heavy, it is dark, but their suit is completely calibrated to survive it.
They know how to exist there.
If they suddenly find a current pulling them rapidly toward the sunlit surface, they cannot just blast upward.
No, their biology can't handle the sudden shift.
If the pressure drops too fast, the nitrogen in their blood bubbles, they experience the bends, it is physically agonizing.
And that is a profound biological shock. The nervous system of a rapidly succeeding individual experiences a psychological equivalent of the bends.
The psychological bends, what does that feel like?
They are hit with inexplicable anxiety, crippling imposter syndrome, or a sudden, overwhelming urge to completely isolate themselves.
And because society does not teach us how to interpret this pain, what does the individual do?
They initiate self-sabotage.
They violently destroy the new relationship. They squander the wealth.
They intentionally miss the critical deadline.
All to forcefully sink themselves back down to the familiar, comforting pressure of the dark water.
They break their own hearts just to feel something recognizable.
That is so heartbreaking. How do we prevent this? How do we slowly expand the capacity of the diver's lungs without triggering a catastrophic retreat?
The individual must radically alter their relationship with the sensation of panic.
Alter it how?
When the upward trajectory accelerates and the chest tightens with inexplicable dread, the absolute instinct is to retreat.
Run away from the fear.
Right. Instead, you must actively welcome the friction.
I am trying to imagine feeling a wave of intense, irrational anxiety and choosing to celebrate it. That sounds like fighting millions of years of evolutionary wiring.
It is. You are overriding the wiring through observation.
Observation, like stepping outside yourself.
Yes. You witness the physical symptoms, the racing pulse, the shallow breath, and you consciously reframe the data.
What do you say to yourself in that moment?
You observe the sensation and state, my primitive architecture is attempting to drag me back to the mud.
You call it out.
This acute discomfort is not a warning of impending doom. It is the physical friction of my consciousness stretching to accommodate a massive new reality.
And you refuse to flee.
You sit in the fire of the expansion.
You label the dread as undeniable proof of victory.
Exactly. The panic isn't a signal that the universe is rejecting you. It is the sound of the thermostat physically breaking and resetting to a higher temperature.
And as you endure the friction without retreating, what happens?
The nervous system eventually maps the new territory. The unfamiliar becomes the new baseline. The anxiety evaporates, and extraordinary success simply becomes your mundane reality.
Navigating that expansion requires a profound trust in the unfolding of events, doesn't it?
Absolute trust.
Which naturally leads us toward the concept of the alternatives flow and the philosophy of non-resistance.
Yes, the flow. This is where things get truly dynamic.
If the space of variations, that library we talked about, is the infinite static map of all potential outcomes,
the alternatives flow is the dynamic current of reality moving through that map.
it represents the path of least resistance through the architecture of time.
Precise.
But the concept of a universal flow can sound deeply abstract to a lot of people. How do we visualize the actual mechanics of this current?
Visualize a massive, completely transparent pipe with water surging through it.
Okay, got it.
On the exterior of one specific section of this pipe, there is a freezing ring.
A freezing ring.
As the infinite rush of water molecules travels down the pipe, only the specific molecules that naturally glide against the interior wall of that freezing ring will undergo the transformation.
And they crystallize into ice.
Exactly. The molecules must make contact with the edge to materialize.
Okay, so how does that apply to us?
Position yourself as a singular water molecule within that surge, and your ultimate ambition is to crystallize into ice.
To materialize my dream.
Right. Now, if you panic, If you thrash wildly, fighting the current, attempting to forcefully swim across the diameter of the rushing water, what happens?
You generate chaotic turbulence.
Yes, your violent resistance destroys your natural alignment.
And the irony is that the frantic, turbulent thrashing actively bounces you away from the edge.
Exactly. By trying to force the materialization, you ensure you never touch the freezing ring.
But if you cease the thrashing
Allow the natural momentum of the current to carry you.
and simply drift toward the perimeter.
You make effortless contact. You crystallize into your chosen reality.
But look at the culture we live in. The defining metaphor for modern ambition is a salmon violently swimming upstream.
Battering itself against the rocks.
Exactly. We are indoctrinated with the belief that if a pursuit does not leave us battered and bleeding, it is not a worthy pursuit.
It's the glorification of struggle.
So if we abandon resistance, how do we distinguish between trusting the flow and sinking into absolute apathy?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. If I just float like a lifeless log, how do I ever achieve anything?
Because there's a monumental divide between non-resistance and apathy.
Delineate those for me.
Apathy is a total surrender of intention. It is giving up on the destination entirely. You don't care where the river takes you.
Okay, and non-resistance.
Non-resistance is maintaining an ironclad intention for the destination while surrendering your emotional rebellion against the present moment.
Oh, you cease arguing with reality.
Precisely. When the traffic halts, when the client walks away, when the storm ruins the event,
You do not hemorrhage your vital energy raging against the immovable facts.
you accept the current coordinates, you float, remaining entirely relaxed, hyper-observant, and brimming with latent energy.
You become a coiled spring rather than a flailing swimmer.
Exactly. By conserving your energy and observing the current without prejudice, you naturally perceive the hidden openings in the flow.
And when the resistance drops and the path genuinely clears,
You do not hesitate. You strike with immense, concentrated, decisive action.
it is the stark difference between thrashing blindly in the deep ocean for hours until you drown from exhaustion.
Versus floating effortlessly on your back.
Right, watching the horizon and taking one perfect explosive stroke precisely as the wave swells beneath you to carry you to the shore.
Action executed within the alignment of the flow is astonishingly effective and nearly effortless.
While action taken in direct defiance of the current is just an exercise in agonizing futility.
Exactly. Which brings us to the core engine driving that explosive, perfect stroke.
The alchemy of intention versus desire.
Understanding this distinction is perhaps the most profound psychological pivot an individual can execute.
It really is. If we look across the distant past, examining the myriad of esoteric traditions, mystic practices, and ancient philosophies,
You see a vast tapestry of rituals.
complex dances, elaborate symbolic acts, meticulous ceremonies,
But when you strip away the cultural costumes, the burning incense, and the specific mythologies, what do you find?
you find a universal underlying technology.
Yes, these ancient rituals were engineered as psychological engines.
Their explicit purpose was to bypass the doubting analytical filters of the waking mind, right?
Exactly. And drop the practitioner into a state of absolute, unadulterated intention.
See, the modern lexicon has dangerously blurred the lines between desiring something and intending to have it,
We use the words completely interchangeably.
but they are energetic opposites. How do we pull them apart?
Desire is fundamentally anchored in the agonizing awareness of lack.
The lack of the thing.
Right. When you declare a desire for an object or reality, you are broadcasting a frequency of separation.
You are stating, I am over here, the object of my salvation is over there, and I am incomplete without it.
And desire builds that crushing pedestal of importance we discussed earlier. It is heavy, it is frantic, and it is entirely saturated with doubt.
And intention operates under a totally different law.
Intention is the tranquil, unshakable knowledge of ownership.
Ownership. It's already yours.
Intention does not hope. Intention does not plead with the universe. Intention simply states, I am walking forward to collect what is already mine.
It is choice stripped entirely of emotional desperation.
Exactly. Let's anchor this in a universally understood experience.
Okay, what's the analogy?
Think about the psychological state of waiting for a phone call from a romantic interest you were just desperate to impress.
Oh, the absolute worst feeling.
Compare that to the psychological state of walking into your kitchen to get a glass of tap water.
Okay, wow. Night and day.
When you are drowning in desire for the phone call, your reality narrows. You stare at the screen. You agonize over what you will say.
You feel an actual physical ache in your chest, corresponding to the absence of the call.
That is the heavy, suffocating gravity of desire, and it drains the individual of their sovereignty.
But consider the glass of water. You are sitting on the couch, and you recognize you are thirsty.
You do not close your eyes and furiously visualize the water materializing.
No, you don't bargain with the universe, promising to be a better person if the water is granted to you.
You do not wonder if you are truly worthy of the hydration.
You simply generate the intention, you stand up, and you move your legs toward the kitchen.
There is zero emotional turbulence. You execute the mechanics required to collect what is already yours.
That is the essence of pure intention. It is the fusion of sovereign choice and physical action, completely unburdened by anxiety.
Intention is the roaring throttle of the human engine. It generates the necessary forward momentum to traverse the space of variations.
But we must acknowledge a critical limitation here, right?
Yes. A massive engine is entirely useless if the steering wheel is locked onto the wrong coordinate.
The throttle pushes you forward, but the steering wheel dictates the reality you actually crash into.
The steering wheel represents the specific goal the individual has chosen to pursue.
So you can have pure intention, but point it at the wrong thing.
Exactly. A person can cultivate a flawless engine of intention, depressing the throttle to the floorboard.
But if they are navigating toward an objective that
Oh, yes.
contradicts the unique architecture of their soul,
They will inevitably collide with a wall of profound spiritual exhaustion.
they're using their magnificent internal power to successfully build someone else's life.
They are aiming at illusions manufactured by those collective energy structures we talked about.
Right, they dedicate decades to securing a specific corporate title simply because the societal structure dictates it represents value.
Or they chase a meticulously curated lifestyle because the digital algorithm has successfully convinced them it is the exclusive aesthetic of happiness.
But pursuing a borrowed ambition, regardless of the intensity of your intention, it will permanently feel like wading through thick mud.
The soul firmly rejects the counterfeit destination.
This is the ultimate existential dilemma, isn't it?
It is the root of so much modern misery.
How does a person filter out the noise of the collective structures to find the specific coordinate that genuinely belongs to them?
How do we locate our unique essence?
Yes. How do we do that?
The resolution requires a deep comprehension of our dual navigational systems, the conflicting resonance of the heart and the mind.
The internal civil war.
We navigate reality using two distinct, often opposing instruments. The heart encapsulates the infinite essence of our being.
And the heart doesn't operate on logic, does it?
The heart does not rely on logic, spreadsheets, or historical precedent. It operates through intuitive knowing.
It hungers for a unique, expansive experience of reality, entirely devoid of the fear of consequences.
Because the heart recognizes its own eternal nature. It simply desires to paint its unique color onto the canvas of existence.
And sitting right across the table, absolutely terrified, is the mind.
The mind is the logical processor. It is a spectacular mechanism designed for calculation, language, and above all, physical survival.
The mind constantly scans the horizon for threats.
It obsesses over social conformity, knowing historically that exile from the tribe meant death.
The mind is a brilliant tool, but it is paralyzed by the unknown.
Which explains the agonizing paralysis that defines so much of human life.
Exactly. The heart catches a glimpse of a vast, untethered potential. It wants to abandon the safe career, move across the world, create bizarre, unprofitable art.
The heart slams its foot on the gas pedal.
But the instant it does, the mind panics. The mind screams, "Are you insane? How will we secure food? What will the neighbors think?"
This path has no guaranteed statistical outcome.
So the mind violently stomps on the brake.
And the individual is trapped in a state of severe cognitive dissonance.
The engine is roaring, burning immense reserves of fuel.
But the vehicle is completely immobilized by its own opposing forces.
Finding the authentic goal, the objective that resonates with both systems. It feels like finding a perfectly tailored garment.
That's a great way to think of it.
When you try to wear someone else's ambition, the jacket is just too tight across the shoulders.
You have to suck in your breath.
You have to continually adjust the sleeves. You are in a constant state of mild physical discomfort, trying to force the fabric to fit your frame.
But when you discover the ambition that truly belongs to you,
It drapes perfectly over your unique psychological contours. It requires absolutely no force.
and the alchemy of materialization occurs in the exact moment the heart and the mind reach a state of absolute agreement.
So how do we negotiate a peace treaty between the infinite heart and the terrified mind?
The hierarchy must be corrected. The heart must be allowed to lead the expedition.
The heart takes the wheel.
Yes. The individual must tune out the noise of the energy structures and listen for the subtle, quiet rustle of the heart's authentic knowing.
And once the destination is declared by the heart, do we banish the mind?
No, you do not banish the mind. You must reassign its duties.
Ah, you give it a new job.
You soothe the mind's hysterical fear of the unknown by elevating it to the role of logistical architect.
You sit the mind down and say, the destination is no longer up for debate. Your job is no longer to list the reasons we will fail.
Your job is to draw the map.
Wow.
You harness the mind's spectacular capacity for calculation, organization, and problem solving, and you entirely subjugate it to the heart's infinite vision.
And when the mind finally accepts the mission and removes its foot from the brake,
Choosing instead to merge its power with the heart's throttle, all internal friction evaporates.
the civil war ends.
The vehicle lurches forward with terrifying, beautiful speed.
The individual achieves a state of limitless momentum. They move through the infinite space of variations, not as a victim of circumstance, but with calm, absolute sovereignty.
It is true alignment.
The territory we have traversed today shifts the entire foundation of how we interact with the morning when we wake up.
It changes everything.
Think about the heavy, exhausted state you, the listener, may have brought into this reflection today.
The feeling of being battered by the immovable obstacles of life.
Wondering why your desperate, bleeding efforts were met only with cold resistance.
The perspective undergoes a total inversion here.
The realization is that the surrounding universe is not a hostile battlefield demanding your blood in exchange for survival.
Not at all.
It is a perfectly polished mirror, reflecting your internal energetic state right back to you.
That's the core truth.
By identifying and severing the heavy ropes of artificial importance,
By refusing to swallow the jagged hooks of collective outrage.
and by brokering a final peace between the infinite heart and the calculating mind, the struggle fundamentally dissolves.
You cease your violent thrashing against the current, and you simply float toward the crystallization of your chosen reality.
It is the ultimate reclamation of personal power.
You are not a generic, expendable component in a vast, uncaring machine. You are a solitary spark within an ever-changing, infinite tapestry,
You were never designed to replicate the trajectory of another.
nor to serve as fuel for parasitic structures.
Your sole, magnificent directive is to materialize your own unrepeatable essence into the physical world.
The architecture of reality is waiting to be shaped.
As the silence returns after this conversation, carry this final thought with you. Consider the incredibly heavy sandbags of anxiety you have been dragging through your days.
The ones you thought were keeping you safe.
Consider the goals you have treated as agonizing matters of life or death. If you knew with absolute, unshakable certainty that the vast constellation of all possible realities was simply waiting for your calm command,
What frantic pursuit would you abandon today?
and what beautiful reality would you simply choose to walk toward tomorrow?